What's good, tinfoil gang? The Nautilus has been bitten by the sunny bug, as if I needed to tell you that. I really didn't think that a sci-fi show that involves a giant bobblehead robot could hook me. I thought, how can anybody take this thing seriously? But somehow this show's balance of mystery and dark comedy just kinda works. Most of the time. While it's not perfect, and what shows really are, Sunny's first 3 or 4 episodes start off very strong, laying the groundwork for an intriguing mystery. But things do get a little messy midway through. We're only on episode 7 of 10 at the time of writing this, so there's still time to cap off the season with a good solid ending. I still think this show has good bones, and to be honest, the quirky aesthetic drip in every shot is a welcome change of pace. Just a quick heads up, there will be plenty of spoilers in this video, so in the case that you haven't seen this one yet, but you don't want to know what happens in the main storyline, you should pump the brakes now and come back later when you're ready. Now, Sunny gets a little complicated in the first season, but the plot starts out simple enough. The official synopsis: an American woman living in Kyoto, Japan, whose life is upended when her husband and son disappear in a mysterious plane crash. As consolation, she's given Sunny, one of a new class of domestic robots made by her husband's electronic company. Though at first Suzie resents Sunny's attempts to fill in the void in her life, gradually they develop an unexpected friendship as together they uncover the dark truth of what really happened to Suzie's family. What happened to Suzie's family indeed? The lion's share of season 1's plot is about Suzie trying to answer that very question, and it's not an easy ask. So in this video, we're going to dive into the strange and mysterious occurrences surrounding the disappearance of Masa and Zen to see if we can narrow down our options to something that works. Before we begin, shout out to the channel patrons, the executive producers of this fine vessel. No amount of thanks could ever be enough. Links to the Patreon and the free Discord as you can see here. Alright, strap on the tinfoil, because it's time to dive. So, Suzie, what are we gonna do with you? Suzie is not the easiest person to get along with. I would use the word ornery. I think that's a fine word to describe her general disposition in life. The thing is, we don't know why she's like this, and I think that's a big piece of this mystery that not too many people are talking about. It's easy to write Suzie off as just a bitter or damaged person, but what's compelling is that the show hints there's much more beneath the surface. Is her prickly nature simply a defense mechanism, or is it rooted in a deeper, possibly traumatic past? As we see her struggle to open up to those around her, the show invites us to question what has happened in her life to make her this way in the first place. As you can imagine, with such a prickly demeanor, it wouldn't be easy for her to meet new people and make new acquaintances, much less form close bonds and display the vulnerability required for anyone who wants to foster a real friendship. I think it's natural for an audience to root for a character like this because we empathize with her, because we want to see her change and grow into a person who is capable of finding some happiness in life. Characters like Suzie are fascinating because they challenge us to consider the complexities of human emotion and behavior. They remind us that change, especially personal growth, is hard-won, often through painful experiences. The first few episodes make it clear that Suzie goes out of her way to push people and her own feelings away, on top of being a generally bitter pill to anyone who makes the mistake of trying to interact with her. She wants to be alone, according to her, but her actions scream, "I want help, but I don't want help." And this is Suzie's hill to climb. We've all known someone like Suzie, or perhaps even been that person at some point in our lives, afraid to let others in, yet desperately yearning for connection. This internal conflict adds a layer of tension to the show, making us wonder whether Suzie will finally let down her guard or continue to spiral into isolation. I mean, a whole decade in a foreign country without learning any of the language. That's a choice, but I think it's safe to say Suzie is going to have to change if she's gonna make it. This self-inflicted social disadvantage makes the pairing of Suzie and Masa kind of cute and intriguing. They are opposites in a lot of ways, and it makes for an interesting dynamic. But it's his soft-spoken but brutally honest way of cutting straight to the quick, communicating with her in a way that just slices right through her defenses. That's how the two of them were able to make this connection. And it sounds like these two were doing pretty good until the tragedy. It's only later on, after Masa's apparent passing, that Suzie starts to replay some of her memories of her time with Masa and begins to notice that there has always been something a little off about this guy. This feeds into her distrust and paranoia that her entire life with him has been a sham and that maybe she never knew him at all. So who was this guy? For one, she had no idea what he did all those nights at the office. She was under the impression that he worked on refrigerators at Imatech, but it turned out that he was working on a new and very advanced kind of AI for a line of personal assistance robots that are apparently relatively normal in this reality. It's still unclear why this was kept a secret, but Masa didn't think it would be a good idea for her to know anything about it. Also important to note that in this world there's a thing called a dark manual, or instructions to bypass or unblock any code that inhibits certain behaviors in one of these robots. It's just like jailbreaking a device or using a delimiter on an engine. Now this is black market, so it's probably very, very illegal. But let's be real. This is exactly what would happen in real life if these things existed. Every freaky thing you can imagine, and some that you can't, would be on the menu. But this is also where the theories begin to crop up about Masa and what he was actually working on, and why the Yakuza were involved. Also, why he was acting so erratically prior to his disappearance. One popular theory is that Masa was working on a project that made the AI more secure, preventing it from being used to hurt other humans. This might explain the opening events of the very first episode. Somehow the robot was able to break the rules and straight up murdered somebody. And this might have happened on the night of Zen's school play. This is the night when Masa and Suzie got into that tiff over him missing Zen's school play and showing up reeking of booze. Masa looked so defeated, and he also looked a bit self-destructive, as if he failed at something very important. So whatever it is that we witnessed on that day, Masa feels indirectly responsible for that. Masa's intimate knowledge of the inner workings of these advanced robots makes him a prime candidate for anyone wanting to get access to their code. This might be the reason why Hime and her Yakuza buddies want to get their hands on him, or at the very least, the prototype robot that has the working code running on it. But what do they even want the code for? So we know that Hime wants the manual pretty badly because it's the key to her taking control of her father's gang as he looks to be on his way out. But that doesn't explain why exactly this info is so sought after. Again, we're just 2/3 of the way through the season. We don't know exactly what they're planning on doing with these robots or the access to get to them just yet, but I imagine we'll find out before the season is through. This theory makes a lot of sense to me based on what we know so far, but it does lead us right into the next big Masa-related mystery. Who deleted him? Or better yet, did someone intentionally take him out, or was it an accident? And to make things even more complicated, was he even on the plane in the first place? So the thing is, tinfoilers, all we have is a shoe. There's no real proof that Masa and Zen are actually gone. And I think this fact hints at the possibility that they're still alive and maybe even hiding if they weren't kidnapped. At least this is what another popular Masa theory claims. Masa knew things were getting too hot between the super secret robot projects and the Yakuza. Perhaps this was a ruse to give him cover, allowing him to work from behind the scenes, or just a way to keep himself and Zen safe from something or someone. Think back to the episode where they discovered the trackers that someone put on Suzie, Noriko, and probably Zen. So we're meant to believe that Masa is one of the likely sources of these trackers, and that's probably because he knew things were going to get out of hand and he did all of this as a precaution. Or maybe he did it as a contingency should he find himself in trouble, as a way to get a message out to Suzie if he ever caught himself in a jam. He may have even given Suzie clues that she hasn't figured out just yet because they're embedded in Sunny in some way that only she would be able to figure out. I have a feeling this might be what leads her to finding out where he is or what actually happened that day. Now, it is also possible that the two were kidnapped by the Yakuza, and the entire plane crash thing was just a coincidental event meant to trick the audience into not even considering that they could still be alive. This one is a little tough because Hime doesn't appear to know where Masa is, but she does hint that she is somehow connected to the big mystery, so it's confusing. Plane crash might have been a real accident and the gang just took advantage of that. Honestly though, the fact that there are no bodies to confirm anything has made me very suspicious of these writers. That leads to another theory about the Yakuza, or at least Hime, and that she is somehow responsible for the initial murder that we witness in the beginning of episode 1. Maybe the end goal for the Yakuza is to unlock the robot's ability to put hands on people so that they can use them to assassinate powerful targets or something, but whatever it is, it can't be good. We saw Hime take out a politician by speedily assisting him down a staircase, and it seems like she may have been trying to make it look like the personal assistant robot did it. Later on, at another point in the story, when Mixie and Suzie are having an argument, a jealous Sunny determines it's a good idea to give Mixie the old one too. Was Sunny defending Suzie, or was she taking out a rival? Perhaps a little of both. In another scene, Hime plugs that dongle thingy into Sunny and messes with her programming in an attempt to get her hands on the good stuff. This makes Sunny go haywire for a minute. But when she finally comes to, she starts acting a little strange. I mean, she's downright rude, maybe even a little pugnacious. The common thread here, robots hurting people, which by no coincidence is a concept that preoccupies the larger underlying theme of the entire story. Suzie outright declares her hatred for robots in the very first episode, when she claims that she lost her mother to one. Solid enough reason for me. This just shows us that in this world, robots are just as capable of causing pain and suffering as humans are. So, can we trust a robot any more than we trust a human? Interesting questions being asked here. One thing is for certain, Sunny is just as flawed and unpredictable as any human character in the story. So she's capable of being unreliable. She's capable of acting with her own motives in mind. She's capable of deceit and even a little jealousy, or a lot of jealousy depending on who you ask. A very important theory about Masa is related to his childhood, or specifically his biological father. About halfway through the story, we learn that Shigeru was not Masa's biological father, but it was a guy named Masa Matsumoto. We don't know any details about this character, but some fans believe that Masa's father is Yakuza, and that's why he wasn't around and Noriko doesn't speak of him. Some fans even say that the father's been in the show all along, posing as the geriatric gangster in the laundry truck that keeps making appearances as part of Hime's goon squad. But we do know that this mystery man helped Masa during his hikikomori phase. This is a trend where a person basically becomes a hermit, cutting themselves off from all social interactions. They kind of tap out and turn inwards to protect themselves. There is that scene where Noriko, Masa's mother, goes into a room and calls a mystery number that never answers. She seems to be pining for a different time in her past in these shots. Some fans think that this phone call was made to Masa's real dad. There are a myriad variations on how this "my father is a Yakuza" theory works, but one good version is that the Hiromasa character escaped the Yakuza and might be hiding with Masa. But there must be some interesting wrinkles to look forward to, because Noriko is being super tight-lipped about the big secret related to Masa's past that she's undoubtedly got tucked in her back pocket. Let's hope they finish this season out well, because I like this show and I'd love to talk about it more. Anyway, that's a wrap on this one. I think it's best I stop here, but we can talk about this more if you're interested. Just let me know. If you enjoyed this video, you already know what to do. Shout out to the patrons. As always, be well, be safe, look out for your people, and be good to yourself. Until next time, off you go.